to the High Vibe Show, living the high vibe life with me, your host, Elisa V. And together with my guests, experts in the art of living in a state of high vibration, we have got an amazing show for you today. My passion is to educate and inspire you to raise your frequency to a high vibrational state. Whether you're an awakened soul to the power of your own consciousness as a light being, or you're new to this spiritual path of expansion and growth, which is made possible through vibrating at a high level, you are in the right place. So stay here to experience fun, frequency upgrades now, so you can manifest all you want and help to raise the collective vibration of our wonderful world. Let's hit the restart button and high vibe it together. The High Vibe Show starts now. Hello and welcome to the High Vibe Show here on Transformation Talk Radio. I'm your host, Elisa V, and I'm so glad that you're with us today. This is the show where we love to bring you great information and insights on how to live in a high vibrational state of love, abundance, and joy. So I want to ask you all something. I want you to think about this. Our thoughts, our self-talk, and practices are ways that we communicate with the universe and with our bodies and manifesting things. And this conversation can sometimes feel one way, especially when it comes to messages that we give our bodies, be they positive or negative. So, for example, if we're in a high vibrational state of self-kindness, relaxation, love, the body feels that and often responds feeling healthier and more robust. But if we're in a state of fear, constant anger, and stress, the body hears that as well. And with those messages often responds with either illness, chronic conditions, or disease. So this raises the question, does the body communicate with us? And if so, how? And do we know how to interpret these messages? Well, today I am so privileged to have as our guest Dr. Randi Shannon, naturopath, who will tell us more about ancient medical methods for discerning what the body is communicating to us and more. Welcome, Dr. Randi.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm just honored to be on your show and excited for the information that the audience is about to hear. Guaranteed they've not heard this to this level anywhere. So it's going to be a fun show.
Yes, very exciting. So before we go any further, I do want to tell our listeners a bit about you and your illustrious career. Dr. Randi is a naturopathic doctor. She's based in Miami, Florida. She specializes in analyzing faces, tongues, and fingernails, which is 5,000-year-old original medicine. She's been featured extensively throughout the media with appearances on The Sean Hannity Show, The Charlie Ward Show, The Power Hour radio show, among so many others. And you also serve as a Fox affiliate talk show host for the past 8 years. Additionally, Dr. Randi is a best-selling children's author of Tongue Tales, and you have 2 new books coming out, The Wholesome Platter and The Wellness Blueprint.
Yes, I'm excited about the new ones coming, but the children's book, for the audience that's actually watching, is up behind me. It's on Amazon. It surprised me. It did become a bestseller. It took about 30 days or so, and got an email saying you were a bestseller, and it was in multiple children's categories. So it was pretty fun. That was my first one really taken to print, and it's about educating kids to be aware of a body part, the tongue. And we focus on showing them all these animals and what they do with their tongue. And at the end, we encourage them to go look in the mirror at their own. Because as adults, we don't even know. So teach them as little kids and bring them into, as an adult, we should be looking every single day or every week or so at our own tongues and just looking for things, because it is a sign of what's going on with our health.
How interesting. And I have a lot of questions about this that I want you to share with our listeners. But before we get into that, I just love to kind of start my show every time with a little getting to know you question. And that is, what is it about your vocation and what you do that most raises your vibration and keeps you doing what you do every day?
There is great satisfaction in what I do, what I practice, and I don't even like the word practice because I know this in my sleep. What I do is look at faces, fingernails, and tongues and other marks of concern on the body. And this is 5,000-year-old original medicine. So when I look at people and I can see what's going on, like which organs are screaming out, hey, I need some help, I need some TLC, then we help to get the body what it needs specifically. And then miraculously, their ailments turn around. So it's super rewarding when you take somebody who was on death's door or had a cancer or was a diabetic or was bone on bone in the knee, all of these things that people think are not reversible. The body, the brain is so smart that when you give it that raw material that it needs, it'll go to work, turn back on, and do its job. When we don't give it what it needs, it goes kaput. I mean, how long can you drive the car without oil, spark plugs, steering fluid, brake fluid? You can't.
Yeah.
And it's far less important.
Yeah, and so much of what like modern Western medicine does is kind of using the car analogy is just like paint that dashboard black so you can't see the lights going on. You can't see that there's a problem with the oil or whatever other thing that the signal is there, but you're ignoring it. So it's treating a lot of the symptoms and not really the root causes and healing the body. So how did you develop your passion for naturopathy and, what led you into practicing this very ancient tradition?
Yeah. And if it could have been debunked, it would have been, but they would have to close down China and Thailand and all these Eastern medicine high vibing countries, really. And so it's never been able to be debunked. And naturopathy was the original medicine. Even in this country, all the medical schools were all naturopathic. And then the Carnegies and the Rockefellers took their money and they sent a guy all around the country. It took him about 5 years to do it. And he went into all of our medical schools, looked at our natural remedies, and then they created drugs and prescriptions from that. And that's what we have today. And so then they also painted the naturopaths and their ways as they were quacks, and that was quackery. Okay. So they managed to put a twist on that. And so only since about 1915 did they start to take over. And a good example is Tylenol. From our side, since the dawn of time, God put all of these herbs and medicines here. So for a natural painkiller, it would be white willow bark. But the Carnegies and Rockefellers and their institutes created Tylenol by taking it just a degree or two off of the original, which was free, by the way.
And unpatentable.
Correct. So, you just can't get rid of this. And so as a little kid, there was still doctors still doing what I do, even in general practice. They came up with more of a holistic background. And one of them, one time I went in for an infection and he took the popsicle stick, the tongue depressor, and instead of putting it all the way to the back to look at my tonsils, he put it at the tip of my tongue and actually looked at my tongue. And it was the only doctor ever to this day in my life that did that. And I've never forgotten that. And he asked my mom a series of questions. And one of the questions was, is she eating any sugars? And of course, back in the early 70s, it was all the Coke machines were everywhere. We had Kool-Aid. Hey, Kool-Aid was the commercial. The little 5 and dime stores were still out there. And every day after school, we would hit it. If we had a nickel in our pocket, man, we were spending it, even if it was a piece of gum. And so, yes, there was a lot of sugars. And so he said, eliminate the sugars. And I never got that infection again. And so that was a sign. And it's not like I've never had sugar in my life. My dad used to work for Hershey Foods, so we had unending amounts of licorice and chocolate and different things, but I never abused it. I never went back to soda, never went back to Kool-Aid. It's just you're literally drinking, just pure sugar basically and chemical. So, and health became a priority. And, when I was pregnant, it became a priority. Again, I like really cleaned up. If I was doing, anything wrong, if it was a cup of coffee, I eliminated that kind of thing. So, and I had 4 super healthy sons and took my nutrients. That was like a biggie. So, yeah. So I was impacted. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like you, I really am, I use the word in a tongue-in-cheek way, but I am obsessed, very obsessed with natural remedies, eating right, getting the right nutrients. And I'm sure like you, it's paid off because my 2 daughters really understand the value of going for the natural and the better way, or I should say the slower way, because, if you pop a Tylenol, like, a couple of minutes, you're going to feel okay, but you go with those natural things, it takes a little more time and you have to, bring a little relaxation and peace to your body to do those things. But it's just the effects of that, and in terms of our longevity and the quality of life is just something that a lot of people don't realize. So some people, even today, like I know there's a little bit, and you can answer to this more, but it feels like people are moving back towards realizing, our grandparents, the natives, knew what they were talking about, and it worked for thousands of years. And then in the last 100 years or so, we just see this increase with all the research and the dollars that are, going towards all this research. People are still getting sicker, and they're staying sick. So I think people are starting to realize, hey, we have to take a different approach to this. But people might still say like, hey, the face, the tongue, the fingernails, like, how does that tell me about my health? Can you tell me more about the specifics of that ancient, medicine?
Well, we're supposed to basically look perfect. And when I say that, what I mean is on the tongue, for example, there's supposed to be no cracks, no crevices, no discolorations, no coatings. So to speak. We shouldn't see the blood running through the veins on the underneath of the tongue. Those are all signs. I don't totally get into what it is on air because I don't like to pre-diagnose anybody because there can be different things for different people. But none of that should be there. We should be perfect. No things in the nails, no discolorations in the nails, a certain amount of half moons, no striping of any color, black, brown, white, no white dots, things like that. These types of things show up, ridges, bumps, indentations. I mean, there's so many things that show up on the body. That's all a sign of what's going on the inside, specific raw material that's not there. When somebody tells me I fell down and broke my hip, immediately in my mind, I go, no, they broke their hip and then they fell down. Why did that hip break? All I have to do is even listen sometimes. Oh, I've got vertigo. I get dizzy all the time. I have ringing in the ear. I know in that moment that they have some form of osteoporosis, whether it's osteoporosis of the skull or, that's one particular label that, there's upwards of 100 different incurable diseases that they say come from that. Like you can never get off of prescription drugs if you tell a doctor you've got osteoporosis. But the thing is as long as there's blood flowing in that kneecap or that hip or that, joint, then that's reversible naturally. So, it's just not profitable to the level that they want. For example, I was looking at some numbers today. I was in a Zoom with another doctor. Canada, the United Nations, USA, they all spend $6.5 trillion on just osteoporosis. Being sick is very rich for them,
Very
not for
profitable.
you. Yeah. So you will be on drugs that, quote, slow it down. And I have never met a drug yet that the body liked. Okay. They're all synthetic. The body hates synthetics. And when I first became a naturopathic doctor over 10 years ago, the so-called incurables, you could go look on the internet and there was between 400 and 600 of the so-called incurables. I looked at that a year ago. I haven't looked recently. And it said that it was now up over 1,000. That's a lie. They just keep adding to the list, but it's all things that are reversible. And it's my firm belief that if you were not born with it, and you also didn't have a surgery, like you got the knee replacement, now you have the titanium in there, okay? If you weren't born with it, it's in my firm experience that it is reversible, barring something like you took irreversible brain damage from, some traumatic something. But even most of those are reversible. I've got 60-year-olds that come to me diagnosed as a brand new diabetic. Well, that's impossible. That's a misdiagnosis. You can only be born a type 1. You can become a type 2 at any point, but you cannot be a type 1 at any point. You can only be born that. They're going to know it within the first few hours of your birth because you'll crash then. So what I'm finding is that if you're in your 50s, 40s, 60s, even 20s, if you have a crash, a diabetic crash, which is because you're missing raw material, they are now just instantaneously giving you an insulin shot and declaring you a type 1 because the insulin worked. But that really, they bypassed a whole process. They also didn't ask questions like, what are you eating? Did you destroy some things in the villi or in the small intestine called villi? If you're eating things like wheat, barley, rye, oatmeal, or buckwheat, you're destroying your digestive tract, wiping out these shaggy looking finger-like structures in the small intestine. And anybody can become susceptible to any of the diseases out there, but also diabetes. And so that's where they get them. They've got nothing to absorb. They crash, they give insulin. They're all back up and happy and like nothing happened.
It almost seems to me like there's almost this time frame, like if you're a certain age, like you're gonna eventually have diabetes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I say that in quotes. You're gonna go to the doctors. They're gonna look at something. And they're like, oh, you're diabetic, you're pre-diabetic. And it really angers me because again, it's about, we look at people that are in their 60s, we should be robust, we should be, healthy, and all these medications. And then what are all the side effects to what's going on, and putting this synthetic stuff in our bodies. So I want this is just amazing. And I want people to know how they can get in touch with you so they can understand and learn more from you. How would someone get in touch with you, and like, what would that process look like? Do you do screenings? Do they just make an appointment?
Yeah, so anybody can go to the website and just schedule straight out. If they want to reverse their issue, they just go to thebodycan, C-A-N, thebodycan.com/schedule. If they have questions, they want to talk first, it's 844-275-1056, 844-275-1056. And I'm going to do something special for your audience, which anyone, let's say today is Monday, March 18th. So let's go to Sunday. I don't know what that date is, if you could look it up quick. Mm-hmm. But Sunday, I'm going to give your audience a 10-minute free consultation. Now, that's not me looking at your pictures. By the way, my clients are all over the country, so they don't come to me. There's no walk-in clinic. Everything is, you send the pictures on the phone. okay, and or email. And I look at those, I blow them up. I have computers behind me and I blow them up and I look at that. We have a conversation. And some of them come with reports. So people can pick and choose which type of appointment they want, tongue analysis or a full analysis where I'm looking at faces, fingernails, and tongue.
Mhm.
I'm super easy to reach when I do really, really big shows like Mike Lindell TV or Sean Hannity Radio. My phone blows up and I get busy for months and months and months. But I'm not doing a big one right now, so I definitely have time. I'm a workaholic and I work even on weekends, except for Sundays.
So that would be from today, the 18th to the 24th.
Okay,
That
perfect.
that would be the dates that they can get in touch with you and get an analysis. And we have a few minutes left, and I didn't want to neglect you talking about your books, the new books that are coming out, because that looks really exciting. Tell us a little bit about the two new books that you have in the works now.
Thank you. And they are exciting. One is a cookbook that follows along with all of my eating rules. And this should have been the original food pyramid. The one we have is a lie. Throw it out and don't let your kids learn it. This cookbook is based on that. And it's going to have things in it that not all the cookbooks out there have, like glycemic index, but it follows along with my rules, which are no wheat, barley, rye, oatmeal, buckwheat, no fried foods, no foods cooked in any oils. We got to throw them out. They're killing everyone. They even have them in the coconut milks and the almond milks. So this is a pure, clean cookbook. It's called The Wholesome Platter, Dr. Randi Shannon's prescription, because naturopaths aren't allowed to, by law, prescribe. So I thought I'd just kind of throw it out there a little bit. It is my prescription through food. And the other one, The Wellness Blueprint, is a spiritually based platform on how to get it all in alignment, physically, mentally, financially, and it just walks you through it, and it has a workbook so that you can do it. It's almost like a diary, but you walk through it and you get it done and you get on track and you create those proper habits, and they are spiritually based. And then I threw in a bunch of quotes from some really amazing people over since the dawn of time. So
I love it. I can't wait for that one, because in my practice, I'm a divorce and life transition coach. So, any kind of life transition, but it's so, I create my program so holistically. It's so important for me to combine the spirit with the body, with the health, with, because we're just not one aspect of ourselves. We're spiritual beings. Our bodies need to be honored, and things that we think and what's in our thoughts that we put out there, whether through our words, through our energy, or, through just the thinking process, really does have a big effect on ourselves and everything around us and the collective. Those sound like really exciting projects. Any last thoughts for our listeners that you want them to know, especially about the very important work that you're doing to help people heal and stay healthy?
Well, I am teaching a course on this because nobody knows how to do it. Nobody knows how to even look at their own family. If they think something's wrong, they immediately go to the medical doctor, and they're only really good for emergencies, surgeries, things like that. They don't handle chronic things well. They only can give a prescription drug. That's all they're taught in medical school. And I'm not downing them. It's just that's all they know. The ones that you should be going to, that people went to since the dawn of time, is naturopathic doctors. And I can see anyone in any state, any country, because I do it all through this smart technology we have. So you send me the pictures of those areas, and then we go from there. And, take advantage of the 10-minute free consultation, not an analysis, but a consultation where I'm just talking to you, and we can kind of guide you on which path you need to go and kind of establish that relationship.
That's wonderful. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and enlighten my listeners. And I wish you so much success. I'm sure you're going to have some best-selling additions to your roster of accomplishments with these new books. And to our listeners, I want to welcome you to get in touch with me at any time. To give me some feedback, just to say hello. You can reach me through my website, hittingtherestartbutton.com. And Dr. Randi, I'd love to have you on again in the future, especially once these books have hit, and we'll go a little bit deeper into what you've written in them and how people can incorporate some of those practices into their daily life.
That's perfect. You're doing an amazing thing. Thank you for just being there and helping so many people. You're really doing an amazing thing.
And
thank
you
for
as
having
well.
me.
We have to keep people vibing high and keep that energy high, right? That's how we
Yes,
make
we
it all
do.
happen.
Turn off the news, throw the TVs out, just do this, do things like this. It's perfect.
Absolutely. All right. You have a great day. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. You've been listening to The High Vibe Show, living the high vibe life. I'm your host, Elisa V, the Queen of High Vibe. Join us every first and third Monday of the month at 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio. This is the place to come for you to have loads of fun, frequency upgrades now, and have great guests to hear all about raising your frequency. For more information, visit hittingtherestartbutton.com. See you next time.